Korea has one of the fastest growing aging populations. Statistics show that in a matter of years, 1 out of every 5 Korean will be over the age of 65. And without a social safety net that can sufficiently keep up with this trend, Korea faces a serious elderly poverty problem. In a show of private initiative that is not common in Korea, a Korean-American entrepreneur founded the Korea Legacy Committee in 2015 and started providing hot meals to those in need. Since then, Maikkim has made it his mission to do his part to tackle the problem of the elderly poverty and motivate young Koreans to follow.
Hey everybody, I'm Maikkim. I'm the founder of a charity organization called the Korea Legacy Committee. Korea Legacy isn't just a charity. We're a national movement to mobilize young leaders to cook and feed the senior citizens of Korea.
Meet our globalists this week, Maikkim, founder and CEO of the Korea Legacy Committee. So, Mike, welcome to the Globalists.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on the show.
Well, we are very glad you made the time. The reason you're here today is because of your activities in the elderly aspect. So it's about the Korea Legacy Committee. What is the Korea Legacy Committee?
So the Korea Legacy Committee, simply put, it is a national movement and it has one sole focus. It is to feed the elderly of Korea. Currently, right now, unfortunately, Korea has the highest level of elderly poverty in the world. Nearly 50% of the senior citizens who are residing in Korea right now live below the poverty line. So we built this national movement to mobilize young leaders to be able to ensure that every single senior citizen in this country has a warm meal.
How do you do that?
We do it in numerous different ways. When we started 8 years ago, actually it was just a group of friends that would get together once a month, pool money together, buy 도시락s and hand them out, or just organize kind of small volunteer events. Over the years, what we found though is that there was a huge desire from young people to give back more. And so we would host more events to raise more money, to purchase more 도시락s. And then fast forward to last year, we actually opened our very own soup kitchen, Legacy Kitchen, which is at the heart of Seoul. And now we're producing and making our own 도시락s every single week to hand out to elderly.
So you set up in 2015.
That's right.
And you opened the soup kitchen in 2022.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a very like a 7-year process.
Yeah, it looks fast, but it took quite some time. And you know, I've always told our young leaders, look, there's absolutely no rush in building this movement because it's a true legacy, right? We're going to be doing this for decades to come. But what's been surprising is the amount of goodwill and the courage from so many young leaders, not just in Seoul, but across the country, who have come together to build this movement together.
When you talk about these young leaders, and this is what you mean by us, who are they? I mean, what kind of young leaders are you seeing as become part of your movement?
They're young people who, you know, starting off their careers. There are people who are in college right now. There are people who have been in their work fields for decades. They come through and they join a volunteer event and they enjoy it and they want to stick with us. And so in the very beginning, there are a core group of about 4 team members. And now we have probably 30 team members, all of whom have full-time jobs. And every week they dedicate their time to fundraise, cook, manage the kitchen, and find other chapters to launch. So it's quite inspiring to me.
Yeah. It's very interesting you talk about the fact that you all have full-time jobs, but this is what you are spending your spare time with. But you are, as you said at the beginning, don't really reside in Korea. You're a Korean American. You were born in San Francisco?
I was born and raised in San Francisco, and then I did live here for a few years, starting in 2015. I used to actually work at a very small startup at the time called 배달의민족. And when we were growing...
Oh, 배달의민족 in its early stages.
In the very early stages. And when I moved to Korea in 2015, the office was based in Jamsil. And I moved to Korea in the winter, in January. And that's actually what spurred me to start this movement, which was, I remember going to Jamsil Station in the dead of winter in January, and there was a harmony sitting on the steps, and she was not selling packs of gum, but she was selling sticks of gum on a piece of cardboard. And that image was just seared in my mind. How in this modern day, in this frigid cold, could there be a harmony right now, sitting on a piece of cardboard, selling sticks of gum? And when I did my research, I quickly realized this is a huge national crisis. And so that's kind of the catalyst of what started this movement.
Any kind of organization, the kind of organization that you have started and are building, involves a lot of fundraising.
That's right.
And it has to be, there's a lot of corporate style managing that has to be done. Now, your day job is not this. I mean, you started with a startup that has exploded, but now you're working for a global big tech, Google.
Right.
You're the Asia Pacific head of Google for startups.
Right.
Does your knowledge at Google help you in your legacy committee?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I take from my day job is just organization. So how do we organize this grassroots campaign? What systems, what platforms do we build so that we can consistently scale when everyone else has a full-time job? Also, how do we allocate our resources? And these are a lot of the lessons I've learned from my day job, and I apply it to the movement. One thing that I think is quite amazing, because you had touched upon fundraising, we have come this far, not on any government funding or large corporate sponsors. We have come this far because young people have donated. From $1 to $10, we have just built this movement because young people have given their time and their money. And I think that's what makes us quite special. We don't have a single employee, not a single full-time employee, and every 도시락 that goes out, it was bought by, it was purchased or funded by the very young people building this movement. And I think that's the thing that inspires me the most.
That is a very difficult thing to have achieved. The word has to get out. You have to allow, a way for young people to be able to donate. It's a very complicated process.
That's right. I mean, we're going to celebrate our 8th anniversary in October. It's a long process. Every single month we're looking at our finances and wondering whether or not we're going to be able to pay rent for the soup kitchen. But I think that there is a common belief that this is something that we built. And there's nothing like this in the country. I mean, most of these soup kitchens are usually funded by the government or there's a large corporation. This was built from the ground up by a group of basically young patriots. It may be more difficult to operate, and it would be easier if we had a large corporate donor. But along the way, even if it takes us a couple decades longer to get to where we want to get to, it'll be their movement, not funded by anything else. And so I think that's what keeps them fired up.
And when you started in 2015, did you think that in 7 years you would be at a place where you'd open a full-time soup kitchen?
Absolutely not. I mean, I had a realistic expectation that, hey, if once a month we came together to volunteer and give back and make sure that senior citizens are fed, that's great. And it really was, when we were thinking about opening Legacy Kitchen, it was just about cost. Right now, a 도시락 or a lunchbox, if you go to a convenience store, it costs around $4 to $5. When we did the math, we realized if we cooked and prepared these 도시락s ourselves, we could lower the cost of that per 도시락 to about $1 or $2. Now, the upfront cost to build this space was quite a lot, so we had to fundraise for years.
Wow.
For years. But nearly 5 years worth of fundraising is how we finally opened that space. And when we did, I think it was not only a huge milestone, but it provided inspiration that if we put our minds together, and it may take us a little longer, but look what we achieved. Without any handouts from anyone else. For 5 years, we raised from $1 to $10, sometimes even 100원. But we built this ourselves.
Yeah. But now you have a diverse methods of fundraising, and I hear that the celebrations mean big galas, type of the charity events you see in Western countries as well. Does that draw the kind of crowds in Korea that you might expect in other countries as well?
You know, we've had to get really creative on how we raise money. One of the things we've done, actually, on top of the gala that you mentioned, is every month we have a series called Chef Night. And we recruit popular young chefs in Seoul to be able to come out and provide their talent, which is to cook an amazing meal. And we sell tickets, and people come into our soup kitchen where normally you would not have this Michelin-type meal, but it connects the young people who would have had that meal maybe in the heart of Gangnam in a soup kitchen.
Oh, it gets a deja vu out of me. Is that Hooney Kim's?
That's right. So he was one that came out
yeah.
and gave his talent and time and provided that opportunity. And when we, open seats up, people come. They're so excited because not only are they going to have the meal that they wanted to have, but they're also giving back at the same time. And so those are the strategies we're using to raise money. Now, it's an inch at a time, but everyone feels vested in that. And I think that's what keeps people coming back every month.
Yeah. And Hooney Kim, who was on our show about a month or so ago, said that, in the beginning, it feels like, okay, I am, as a chef, as a Michelin-starred chef, I am helping out. But in the end, they feel that, they get a lot more out of that than they provide.
What started as a whisper has now turned into a roaring national movement, led by not me, but by young, vibrant professionals. Their dedication and courage is the backbone of our KLC movement. When I say KLC, let's start with the WIO, okay? KLC! Yeah! KLC! Yeah! There we go. Oh, this is music. I like it.
(2023년) 코리아레거시커미티 올해의 봉사자상 조현호님 모십니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해주세요.
네, 세상에서 가장 따뜻한 남자.
상을 받은 이상 더 열심히 해야겠다는 생각이 있고요. 그다음 지금 앞으로 할 일이 과제가 많이 남았어요. 이제 그 과제를 하나씩 하면서 조금이라도 우리나라의 노인 빈곤 문제에 도움이 되는 활동을 계속 이어나갈 생각입니다.
저희 KLC가 봉사활동 외에도 좀 갈라 행사와 칵테일 파티까지 정말 다양한 방법으로 어르신들께 좀 도움의 손길을 건넬 수 있는 행사라서 너무 부담 갖지 말고 오셔서 함께 즐겨주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
자, 하나, 둘, 셋.
So we've talked about your fundraising efforts. Gala is a collection of everything that you've sort of done. What is your thinking behind choosing a format of a gala to fundraise in Korea?
To give some context, when I was living in San Francisco, I had done a lot of fundraising, and I had started an organization called the Gala Legacy Committee, which to ensure that we fed the homeless of San Francisco. And in California, we'd have a lot of young professional galas where young people would come out, purchase a ticket, and have this kind of fundraising method. When I first came to Korea and proposed this idea, first of all, no one had ever been to a gala, knew what a gala was. When I had said it was black tie, the concept of wearing a tuxedo and a gown was very foreign for young people. And they actually told me, just don't do it because no one will come and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And it won't raise any money.
And it won't raise any money. But the reason I pursued it was for a few reasons. Number one, it is a phenomenal platform to get people together to have fun. Young people want to have fun, and it's an easy way for them to purchase a ticket to come. But the larger reason why I was consistent about the gala is this. There is a belief in Korea that you need to be of some stature or of importance or an idol to be able to attend something like that. And I never believed that anyone should be excluded from an event like that. Most young people in this country never have an opportunity to attend something like that. They see it on TV, and they believe that maybe one day, if I'm lucky enough, I'll go there. I think that's wrong. When you go to the gala, you're actually empowering young people, and you're putting them on the very same level as the idols they see on TV. They're wearing the exact same clothes, they're at a nice venue, and they feel the impact. My goal with the gala is actually to break down the barriers. You don't need a title, you don't need to have a particular stature in society. You are just as deserving to go to a black tie gala as any actor and actress in this country. And you're actually doing it for a very, very good cause. One of the things that's very important about this gala also is ensuring that the ticket price is quite low.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the reasons that only the higher echelon of society go to these galas because it's so expensive to go.
That's right. And right there is the difference that we're trying to create. Why should anyone in this country be blocked from giving back or attending something special because of a ticket price? And so we've been very fortunate to work with a great partner in ensuring that we can have a price that's affordable for young people. We give them the opportunity to be able to have a special night in this country. But more than anything, when you come to that gala and see young people coming together for a common cause, you're instilling confidence in them. You are sending a message that whatever background you have, you belong. And don't ever believe that because you came from a particular city or socioeconomic state that you don't have the ability to give back. And so, on the outside, it looks like just a fun party, but really there's a deep core message there, especially in a country where I feel we're so sometimes connected to titles and stature. We're trying to break down those barriers.
So the price is such that it's about really making the decision to come rather than can I afford it?
Right. We want, if you're a young student or just starting out in your career, $100 is a lot.
Yes.
But we also want to make sure that if it was $500, maybe we can raise more, but we missed the target. The whole purpose of this is to ensure that we give young people an opportunity to participate. We have been built this far for the past 8 years on the love and courage of young people. So if we gated them by a ticket price, we'd be doing the exact opposite of what our mission is.
It sounds from what we've been talking about, although your target is the elderly population in Korea, and you say that that is exactly what we are actually being able to do. But the other half really seems to be the younger generation in Korea. There's a very much of a focus on empowering and motivating a younger generation in Korea. Why is that?
For me, I was a political science major, and I maybe in my younger days was, and even now, have always believed that the challenges that we as a country face or we have in our communities, they're never really going to be solved by the people on the top. We have a belief that they will, but my core belief has always been any change that's truly going to be long-lasting has to be built from the ground up. And that responsibility, that vision has to come from young people. When we look at the country of Korea, our whole history has been overcoming insurmountable odds. And it's been young people, the young generation that fought for democracy. It's been young people who have built the industries that we are now benefiting from today. I think what we need to continue to do is motivate that young generation and remind them the future or the Korea that you want is the Korea you're going to build. And if we hand them the keys, they will. I sometimes feel that maybe they don't feel that they have the opportunity. And I want to ensure and remind them, we're going to give you the keys. And the country that you want is what you want to build.
I guess almost every generation talks about a younger generation in a way that, they're hopeless or, they're out of control or whatever. But they do talk about the younger generation of today in Korea as a generation that is disillusioned, has never known poverty, has never known economic hardships that the older generation had to overcome.
Sure.
And so they are, in a way, a little bit privileged, but also doesn't have the opportunities to grow like the older generation. What do you think? Do you see that do you have a different perspective of this younger generation?
I mean, you're right in the sense that if we look at the history of Korea, this is a generation that didn't grow up with some of the hardships that other generations.
They never knew war. Yeah.
Like my father or my
yeah.
grandfather, right? But this is also an incredibly challenging time for young people. And what I actually find very inspiring is the people that come to KLC are people actually who are working 2 or 3 jobs. They probably have little to no time to give back on the weekends, but they're doing it. The young people of this country have a deep desire. I can feel that there is a well of feeling where they feel vested in their future. But the opportunities and the path forward are sometimes limiting here. And so if we're going to change that narrative, if we're going to give them that opportunity, we have to remind them that they do have the power to be able to create the future that they want. And so for me, this, as I mentioned earlier, the Korea Legacy Committee is truly a catalyst to empower and inspire young people so that they can write the next great chapter of this country.
The theme of your project, the elderly poverty, is that something that you think there is a synergy effect for a younger generation? I mean, they're on opposite sides of the spectrum in terms
Sure.
of the population, but they're both problematic, have problems of their own.
Yeah.
So by combining them, is there something that happens that results in something that we don't know about?
I mean, I think the magic actually is when you see that young generation hand that toshirak or that lunchbox to someone who is elderly. The young generation right now is walking on a path because that generation built that road for them. And so the true legacy is actually how do we continue to keep that road going ahead? That generation, our grandparents, sacrificed so much so that this generation could continue going on. And so when we volunteer and we connect these 2 worlds together, there's magic there. And they are reminded, both generations are reminded of their purpose and that no one gets through life alone. And so when we bring these 2, what you may think are kind of opposite worlds together, in fact, actually, I think that is the very legacy, which is we all have the responsibility to make sure that the next generation is taking care of the next generation. And I've always said, if Korea Legacy is truly successful, I won't be around to see it. Because that philosophy, that way of life, that thinking will go way beyond how long I'll be on this earth.
What happens when the 2 meet? I mean, you talk about magic, but you know, Korea was well known for the filial piety, being very respectful to your elders, and many believe that's mostly gone. You hear all these, horror stories about the fights that go on, the arguments. What do you see when the 2 meet?
Gratitude. I see a lot of gratitude and I see a lot of love. You know, when they receive the lunch boxes, they don't just receive it and leave. They hold the hands of the volunteers for a good 1 or 2 seconds. And that's really special. You know, I've been doing volunteering work around the world, but what's really unique is that when they receive that meal, when they receive that package of love, they truly are grateful. But when you look at the young people handing it over, they also feel a deep sense of pride and connection. Sometimes actually we have volunteers who cry, not because of the fact that they're so sad of the situation, but they're overcome by the emotion of, I have impacted someone's life and they're holding my hand. And so that's the magic that I describe, which is, we talked earlier, when people volunteer, it's not just the meal that you're giving someone. You're giving someone a chance. You're also reminding the young people of their value. And I think that legacy is what we want to continue to build.
What would you like to achieve before you actually do hand your legacy over to the next?
The ultimate goal, we would love to be able to see Legacy Kitchen opened in every major city in this country.
Really?
We'd like to open.
You have one now.
We have one right now in the heart of Seoul in Yongsan, but there are elderly in Gyeongju, in Busan, in Ulsan, in Incheon that need a meal. There are also young people there that want to give back, that want the chance to give back. And so in the next 3 to 5 years, our goal is to continue to scale our efforts, open up more Legacy Kitchens, give the keys to the young generation to be able to lead. And moving forward, then hopefully we'll see a sprouting of many movements led by young people of this country.
We wish you great success. And we're looking forward to see how that word of mouth spreads even quicker now that you have more mouths.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity and to be able to share the story of Korea Legacy.
It's very wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And that's it for me. I'll be back next week with another globalist who's putting Korea on the map. Sunji out.